Hello, namaste everybody. The second topic on our discussion on wellness is called Combata, and despite its obvious reference, it has nothing to do with combat science, martial arts, or MMA. It has everything to do, on the other hand, with fitness and how specific adaptations in fitness, by choosing the right training methodologies and understanding what we seek, will help us to become not just fit for a specific activity, but fit for life.
Ms. Nikita Parmar, and she has a background in exercise physiology and is a certified trainer. And she's been working out for the past 7 to 8 years. And she has a personal story which is very relatable. In her sense, she actually took it at a personal level and converted that into a regimen which not only made her lose weight and become lean, it also transformed her physiology, wherein today she does different kinds of physical activities, certified trainer, and has seen the progress which she wants to share with others. And her story is about how she got from being fat to fit, but more importantly, how she's become functionally fit and something that we all can use. So Nikita Parmar, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, Nikita Parmar, and as rightly described by Arjun, that's a bit about my journey. So I've always been around sports. So I had a very long gap. So I had appeared for state levels, then I had a major injury. So I had to discontinue from playing professional tennis. But I was always confident that I could transition myself. And I completed my post-graduation running an education institute, which I continue to run. Parallelly, I wanted something of my own into the field I was so passionate about. So right now I have my small venture. It's known as Loop Fitness and Creations, where I train 15-year-old kids to beyond 50 years old women and men. My agenda related to this organization is, change the myth of how people describe themselves and how not to deprive, giving up on how to live your life better and focusing more towards sustainable development than having short-term goals and giving up. So that's the gist about my agendas in and around what I follow at present.
Thank you, Nikita. So on the whole, the context of us getting into any structured workout is based on our physiology.
The dawn of strength training, human beings have had to rely on the movement of mass, usually in the form of iron weights, as the source for the resistance. When we move heavier and heavier mass, yes, we do get stronger. But strength is only half the equation. The other half is speed. It doesn't matter if you're a pro athlete, a weekend warrior, or senior on the golf course. Strength at speed is at the very core of taking performance to higher levels. That isn't our opinion. This is the law of physics. Take a base.
Who has emerged from being a quadrupedal to becoming a bipedal entity. So with this transition, if you see in the animal kingdom, there are only one particular species of animal which has the particular trait that we have, becoming bipedal, but the movement pattern for human beings and the femurs are diametrically opposite. The femurs actually move in a sideways manner. Kangaroo moves forward, the femur moves sideways. But the human beings have somehow been able to master that and also overcome the inability that was associated with not being quadrupedal. But the biological adaptations that happened has also brought in a lot of prospects and a few challenges. The prospects being existential challenge, just as we are facing the existential challenge now in the face of the global pandemic, there was a much bigger and a very universal problem that emerged in front of the human species, wherein they had to make a decision between roaming the savannah and climbing up to access the food and resources there. And by climbing, that is where the human bipedality got its edge. And not only did it help them climb and survive that phase, it also paved the way forward for human species to dominate the world like no other species that has ever lived on planet Earth.
In the next 60 seconds, as you watch this video, your eyes will convert light waves into electrical signals that will be conveyed to the brain, while your ears will convert sound waves into electrical signals that too will be conveyed to the brain. Your brain will process these signals, allowing you to see and hear this video. Meanwhile, your cells will use oxygen to make energy and produce carbon dioxide, which will then be exchanged for more oxygen as you breathe in and out 12 times. Your heart will beat 70 times and pump 5 liters of blood throughout your body, 1 liter of which will be delivered to the kidneys, which will function to maintain your blood volume by eliminating waste and conserving necessary solutes. This is a mere sampling of functions that occur in our bodies every minute just to sustain life. This is human physiology.
In that context, if we get back to physiology and composition, within our current composition and physiology, the biggest problem is the problem of excess. Be it the excess of the food that you consume, and then the excess converts into excess adipose tissue, which is fat, or the excess of information that we have centered around health and fitness. Considering 2 facets. One would be looking at how do we get into an exercise regimen, and for what do we get into exercise regimen. And Nikita, could you just give us a little bit of insight on what should a person do before they get into an exercise regimen?
You've dedicated the time, and you're putting in the hard work. You're on a path to a better you, and your fitness goals are finally within your reach. But if your goal is to lose fat, then weight scales can mask your progress. Today's fitness trackers and scales leave us confused about our health and feeling hopeless about reaching our goals. Do yourself. Staiku is a body scanner that's revolutionizing the way we track fitness. Simply stand on a rotating platform while a harmless infrared sensor captures your body's shape and composition. In a matter of seconds, Staiku accurately recreates your body in 3D, revealing detailed information about your body's measurements. Compare and contrast your 3D model and clearly see where you've lost inches throughout your body and throughout your fitness journey. Since fat takes up more volume than muscle, your body shrinks as you shred fat. A digital tape precisely measures changes in your circumferences, like your waist, chest, hip, and more. Overlay your body in 3D to track even the smallest changes in your shape. You're more than a number on a scale. You're more than just one dimension. You're multi-dimensional.
Or the goals. So before getting into a training program, it is important for people to understand what training does to them and what are the different aspects that should be considered when a person starts training. Terms like training, we use conditioning, and there is also rehabilitation. So how different are these?
Okay, so just starting on a different note, so injuries are very common when it comes to the athletes, because we just discussed about athletes, celebrities, and general population. But it is as common also amongst the general population in everyday life, whereas accidents do occur. So how does this affect the process of training, conditioning, and rehabilitation? Is just going through it. There is a process. Follow it, understand it, give yourself time. Okay, now how to do it? Training is basically you're engaging yourself in any of the activities that requires you to perform set of activities repetitively in a very structured format. So training with a performance and recovery strategy for a repeated bounce of the activities conditioning. So emphasizing this fact of recovery as an essential aspect in our performance. Okay, so to perform better is to understand that the implications of the physiological response mechanism is to ensure that the adaptation.
First question that we posed is momentum. Today I'm just going to have a small demo to explain how it comes to training and how it can give a distinctive edge for anybody who trains. Movement defines everything, and in real life, as in exercise or everyday activities, we invariably engage in different kinds of movements, and some of the most important movements require us to do it at a specific speed to which your outcome is attached. sometimes it's high speed, sometimes it's low speed. Movement requires a sense of completion. So you start from point A and point B is where you reach, and in the process you have something called the range of movement, and in the range of movement you have the full range of movement and you have partial movement. So I'm going to use my friend here to demonstrate the full range of movement and what is a curtailed or partial range of movement. And so can you just show the squat, please? That's the full range of movement. And that's the curtailed range of movement. And I will get back to why I'm showing this in real terms. Anthony is going to show us full range of movement and a partial range of movement or a curtailed movement, and how it impacts the overall load as well as the output. Let us look at it. Anthony, can you do a full range of movement, knee to chest, explode. And the partial. Yes, now in terms of actual loading, if you go to the screen, so for the full range of movement, you get 1148, and for the partial movement, you get 900. So you can see that drop in the power that's been generated once the moment has been curtailed. So the movement, if it is full and complete, where you go deep, you also tend to generate enough momentum to generate maximum power. So I'm going to demonstrate range of movement, but in this case I'm going to add speed to it, and let's see how much power he generates when he does it with a conventional equipment. So in this case it's a dumbbell. He's going to do a press. So go ahead and do it. So in this case you see thereby at this point there's not much of a control when he does this. If I ask him to do this 5 times in a row, just go ahead and do 5 times in a row. 3, 4, and 5. So you see the load on his joint is much higher.
It should be as simple as including brushing, bathing into your routine.
Right. So in terms of the circadian rhythm, we human beings have again taken about 100,000 years to get into the current state where our circadian rhythm has set itself to meet certain important goals that we as a physiological entities have. One is the work to rest ratio, and how do we even come to terms with that in the context of everyday life. What happens with the circadian rhythm is you react to basically the photoreceptors, which tells you when to switch off or turn off your physiology so that your brain gets the rest and the body actually gets some rest to heal itself. That's what we call as sleep. So the sleep pattern is driven by the circadian rhythm, and the circadian rhythm in turn actually promotes hormonal changes like the release of melatonin. It helps you to sleep better, or it induces sleep in the first place. The world that we live in, it's very important for most people to understand that it's very important to sleep after activity and get rest. So if you were to bring that into the exercise physiology concept in terms of people working out without adequate rest, and how does it impact the circadian rhythm and the overall physiology of a human? Realistic, a person has to be a celebrity-like body. That transformation takes time, effort, and it needs a lot of support systems to sustain it in a holistic manner. So then we break down the specificity. You get 3 aspects. One is training, and then you have conditioning, and then you have rehabilitation. How different are these, and how do we employ or deploy each of these in our regular life?
Okay, so coming to training, it is engaging in any activity that requires you to perform set of activities repetitively in a very structured format. So training with the performance and recovery strategy for repeated bounds of the activity is actually conditioning. So what you're doing is basically you're getting into this different bodily movements and conditioning it to perform in the dynamics of speed, agility, mobility, reaction training, strength training. Ensures the adaptability towards high performance. This is in terms of conditioning. So coming to the rehabilitation, so it is basically retraining the body to do the basic activities and getting the essential movement patterns to make sure that you're going back to the capability you had prior the injury and building back the strength in order to at least perform the basic body movements, and if you have surpassed that, then build back the strength which you had before. So that would be the rehabilitation.
That's good. Thank you. And in terms of understanding the dynamics and the implications specific to our requirement, especially given that we live in a very time-driven, resource-challenged environment, how do we choose, especially in the context that we are currently facing challenges working from home, and then we have restricted access to fitness centers or gymnasiums, even parks restricted to a larger extent? How do I train myself, or what are the resources that I should use to train myself?
Okay, so it is very much dependent on both your nutrition as well as training. Now, coming to the pandemic challenges where you do not have access to gymnasium and your parks and other options which you have mentioned, it is as simple as doing at your apartment or at your home. It's not that difficult. If you have a little bit space around you, you can actually get the results. Like if you want to lose weight or if you want to build muscles, both are pretty much possible. Be pair of weights, or utilize your body as your gym and your machine. 20 to 30 minutes of your day into this, it creates you will see the results which you're aiming for. And if you're just looking for staying fit and get away from the sedentary life, that is also possible.
Be structured. Exercise has to be followed up with diet and nutrition. It should also encompass aspects like rest, recovery, and exercise has to be complementing your lifestyle and not enforced in one way or the other. Neither should it be considered as a non-entity. So exercise is an integral part of life. Don't overdo it. Do it at the right levels. But when you engage in an activity, make sure that you're doing it in an environment that facilitates your body movements, and take basic precautions not to overexert and watch out for injuries. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, that's what I really meant.
We are engineered to answer the question, how much better can I get? Engineered to combat the temptation of good enough. The forces of mediocrity are relentless, so we fight them every day. Because fast can be faster. Because strong can be stronger. Because power can be more powerful. Because the competition never stops. Because limits are for pushing. Because science is on our side.
In terms of training implications, if we look beyond the regular realms of what we perceive as benefits from fitness in terms of speed, power, endurance, strength, agility, and flexibility, there are neuromuscular adaptations. And at a cellular level, there are adaptations in each and every cell of your body that helps you function better. To conclude, it has been an eye-opening session for me in terms of looking at the various breakthroughs that has happened both from the technology and the equipment scenario, as well as what's available for us in terms of understanding the physiological implications by preemptive screening. Therein, it allows us to plan our exercise and fitness regimen in the most personalized and effective manner.